Welcome to Fox 10 Talks Sports. Robby Baker, Blake Niemann. As you can see, if you're watching the stream right now, we have some technical difficulties we're working through on the back end. You can kind of see two of Blake's right now. Blake's hands, his hair above. But if you're in,
it's like a Halloween movie.
Exactly. We're just in the Halloween spirit here. ASU kind of in the Halloween spirit. If you, in regards to their uniforms this week, kind of a different combination, gold, black, and gold, kind of channeling the Pittsburgh Steelers a little
black
bit.
And yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow.
As a Steelers fan, I will approve. And Doug Tamero, media relations guru over there, also from Pittsburgh, I'm sure he would approve of the combination. We are not here just to talk about uniforms, though. We are here to preview another pivotal Big 12 showdown for the Arizona State Sun Devils. This is a Sun Devil team that we said last week they're going to beat Texas Tech. We were confident. Maybe we weren't picking with our minds. We were picking with our hearts. But it ended up being correct.
Hey, we were one of the few, Robbie. There was a ton of media members. Shout out my old boss, Chris Cartman. His entire staff picked Texas Tech to win the game. Me and Robbie both picked ASU, went with our hearts. I mean, the Sun Devils at home. That was literally my entire logic behind this. 10 straight in Tempe for ASU. 10 straight wins. That is hard to top.
Yes.
I mean, that's got to be the longest streak since a long time. I'll have to ask Doug Tamero about it tomorrow.
It's got to be one of the longest for ASU. And nationally, I heard on the radio today, Alabama, I believe, is up to 15 straight home wins.
Well, we saw Georgia's go down a few weeks ago.
Georgia's went down. They're in the top 5 for home win streaks in the country. Shout out to Ray. He says, go Cougs. He's from Houston. And he says that, he's rooting for Houston this weekend. So, hey, it's okay if you're a Houston fan. Hop on the chat here. We also have a knock-knock on here as well. I don't know if that's a knock-knock joke. If it is, please finish it up. I'd love to see where that goes. So, let's talk about this game here. We'll start with the it's not breaking news. The biggest news of the week is Jordan Tyson. I still don't know how he finished not only did he finish the Texas Tech game, but basically put the team on his back to win that game. I don't know how he did it with one leg. I was in pain watching him in the fourth quarter on the sidelines. But the news we found out earlier this week is that Jordan Tyson will not be going in this game with that, we assume, some type of a hamstring or leg injury.
Yeah, he was grasping at that hamstring for the majority of that second half as he was playing through it. And like you said, on that final drive, he gained some sort of willpower, adrenaline, something to give him that extra boost that he was able to push through and make the play on 4th and 2. Sam Levitt rolling towards the line of scrimmage. Tyson gets the catch, and then he is like skipping like an antelope, just like awkwardly running, knowing that leg is like kind of limping out on him, and he was like making some mockery of it. Shortly after it happened, he actually got a touchdown where you saw him going around like
he was doing the
stanky leg.
He was doing the. I don't know if you remember. This was like a viral video before they were viral videos, but like the Greg Jennings Madden clip. Have you seen that where he's got a broken leg and he's just like limping down the field like that? That's what it felt like watching Jordan Tyson in those final drives. Yeah,
it just complete guts, and that's all it was. It was the adrenaline, the guts of the moment, the desire to win. And like Kenny Dillingham commended him for this week was that, this is a guy who is projected to be a top 10 pick in this upcoming NFL draft, a guy who's pretty much has his pro football career set regardless of what happens the rest of the season. He could shut it down for the year right now and probably still would go within the top 10. But this is a guy who loves ASU, who loves his teammates so much that he went out there, risked a greater injury than what is already aggravated in his hamstring, so we think, and went out and won that. He won them the game. Without Jordan Tyson on that final drive, ASU does not win that game. And that just speaks to his character and his desire to win and not just be selfishly ambitioned of his personal career and NFL aspirations, but to want to win right now in this stage of his career where he's at. But it's going to be a massive blow for ASU. Jordan Tyson leads pretty much any receiving category you can look up in the Big 12. Jordan Tyson leads it. Receptions, touchdowns, receiving yards, most 15-plus yard first down catches. Like, he leads it all.
Sam Levitt, all but one touchdown that Sam Levitt has thrown this year has gone to Jordan Tyson. The other touchdown's gone to Shimon Mate.
And get this, 52 receptions for Jordan Tyson. The next closest listed wide receiver in terms of catches is Derek Eusebio with 7.
Woo!
52-7. Now, like Shimon Mateer, their tight end, has been their number 2 option, as was kind of the same last year. And I think that's what we're going to be looking at as we get into here. I think that's going to be more of the adjusted look for ASU that they kind of showed a little bit of last week and the weeks prior is this 12 personnel. For those who aren't familiar with what 12 personnel is, it's essentially using 2 tight ends to have bigger bodies, allow you to run the ball better. And in this case, your second best pass catcher is Shimon Mateer, the tight end. So you want to be able to utilize him, and he had, a really great game, had some explosive catches. Jaron Hamilton had some nice plays.
It was nice
so
to see
some
him
guys are going to have to continue
bit.
to step up.
So shout out Christine Carroll in the chat. We've had a couple weeks here. Ever since, and I've said this last couple of shows if people have tuned in, ever since Blake and I survived the hurricane storm that was before TCU, that was one of the craziest Fox 10 Talk Sports pregames you will ever see. Ever since then, the chat has been so lonely. People peaked at the crazy storm, and now it's nice to see people back.
It's good to see people back.
So thank you for being back in the chat with us, Christine. She says she likes Texas, but her heart knows that ASU is going to win on Saturday. So Christine, we like that energy. If ASU beats Houston on Saturday, tomorrow, they will have swept through all of their Texas games as well. Basically
5-0.
Basically beating all the major programs other than Texas A&M in the state of Texas. Also worth noting, Texas A&M is scheduled currently to play ASU next year in a non-conference game, so they could add that one to the list notch on their belt as well potentially next year. Like you said, it's going to be an uphill battle without Jordan Tyson. I think there is some confidence, at least among Sun Devil fans, that is warranted considering you're at home. This is what we talked about last week against Texas Tech, that it is so true, especially in college and especially at Mountain America Stadium now when you talk about home field advantages. 5th straight sellout at Mountain America Stadium coming up tomorrow. It has become one of the premier Big 12 environments, across the conference. And it is a true home field advantage. We even saw earlier in that game against Texas Tech last week with a freshman quarterback, with a very veteran offensive line still, false starts.
Yes.
Illegal shifts. They were thrown off early, Texas Tech, by how loud that building was. It's going to be the same tomorrow against Houston. The defense seemed to really feed off of that energy. All those things I think would lead me to feel good if you are a Sun Devil fan. Thank you, Christine. She says that we are great commentators, so we appreciate the love there. And you look at this in terms of what ASU wants to do as well. They want to run the ball with Raleek Brown. They were not able to get that established a lot against Texas Tech. It didn't hurt them because they ended up winning the game. Also, Texas Tech basically has the best rush defense in the
They do. They have the number
defense.
1 rush defense in the nation.
Houston
has the 3rd best in the Big 12. I believe it's 43rd nationally.
43rd, yeah. They're giving up about 125 yards on the ground a game. If ASU can get to that mark, whether it's a combination of guys, Raleek Brown, even Sam Levitt, obviously he'll use his legs. If ASU can get to the 125, 150 yards rushing, control the clock, that's been a big thing I think I've noticed from Kenny. It kind of started against Utah, but that backfired against them a little bit. But the controlling the possession game, limiting the amount of possessions for your opponent. They're not really trying to get out there and sling it and quick touchdowns. They've been a little bit more methodical, longer drives, kill the clock. And by the 3rd quarter of that Texas Tech game, you could tell that Red Raiders defense, which is a very highly rated defense, they were sucking for air at times. I mean, they were on the field a lot. I think the Red Raiders only had the ball for like 1 minute and 38 seconds or something in the 3rd quarter last Saturday.
Well, it's also Texas Tech is like a quick slinging team, so they still kind of function off of that traditional air raid system that Mike Leach brought into college football when he was there, all those decades ago. And they've kind of maintained that similar style of play through different coaching staffs and different styles. And we saw that, and it gets shot down pretty quickly. Like if you can stop that air raid, you're going to get off the field 3 and out pretty quickly. But the thing with you touching on the rushing attack of ASU, I'm curious to see if Sam Levitt is going to be more mobile this week. We saw him be able to get out of the pocket a little bit and run, but it was probably the least amount of running I've seen him do scrambling wise in a game that I've seen him play at ASU.
Even a couple of the plays, specifically the crucial 4th down late, when Sam got out of the pocket, I think everybody in the stadium thought he's going to run for the 1st down. And obviously he flips it to Tyson, who goes on the run that gets him into
But I think
position.
that is honestly a positive sign.
I would agree.
Because the criticism for those, while Sam Levitt is amazing, and I think he has upside potential to be a 1st-round NFL draft pick someday, I don't know if it'll be this year, possibly next year, but I think the thing is, a lot of critics from analysts' point of view are saying that Levitt has to get more comfortable in the pocket. He has to be a better pocket passer, and that comes with maturity at the position. So I think you saw that last week against Texas Tech, and I would like to see more of that. But yes, the run game has to get going. It does not help that Kyson Brown continues to be sidelined with an injury.
Yeah.
I actually saw him out at practice this week. He was in full pads with a boot on, which was interesting. He's not going to play this week, though. I'm pretty positive.
Just wants to feel what it feels like to have the pads on.
And then Kanye Udo had like that breakout game against Mississippi State and has kind of vanished into the darkness.
He's kind of been elusive. Yeah.
So now it's like kind of just Raleek Brown.
Are we getting some Man Robinson? Are we going to get
Man Robinson has shown some signs.
He got in against Texas Tech when Raleek missed a couple plays after going down.
But yes, ASU's going to have to get creative. Marcus Arroyo's going to have to dig into that bag of tricks that he has from all his years that he's been coaching and find a way to get creative, because without your star Jordan Tyson, you're not going to have a double team anymore. Like Jordan Tyson, there's pretty much always been a safety, at least shading to his side or been doubling over the top. And they're not going to double team Jaron Hamilton. They're not going to double team these other guys. Like, it's going to be zone coverage or man-to-man coverage, and it's going to be a man-for-man, like, best man win.
I liked what Kenny said this week, too. Also, shout out Christine saying she loves the entire Fox 10 sports team. We love you, Christine. You're the best. I like what Kenny said this week, too, that obviously in a perfect world, Jordan Tyson doesn't get hurt. That's obvious. But at the end of last season, Tyson got hurt. It didn't cost them against Iowa State.
Because they had Cam Skadovich.
Well, yes. But also, if Jordan Tyson is 100% healthy, maybe the Texas game goes differently, too. Maybe they don't fall down. I mean, there's so many other variables. But Kenny basically said this week, obviously you wish Jordan Tyson was healthy, but the opportunity this gives for Sam this week to he's not throwing to JT in practice. He doesn't even have the option to throw to him in this game. It's good. Like Malik McClain, Jaron Hamilton, Jalen Moss, there's not an option. Somebody has to step up and become the
Derek Eusebio. I mean,
Derek Eusebio.
This is a guy who's been stepping up through different points in the season, but like he's been this kind of the starting slot for ever since that breakout Baylor game he had in that big play. He's kind of taken that position, so now it's on Jalen Moss. I'm curious. He's been practicing a lot in the slot this year. Maybe they move him back out to the X or Z position, which is like a traditional wideout, which is what he was at Fresno State. Like he isn't a traditional slot receiver. Though he has the route running skills to do that, he's traditionally been a full-on wideout as Fresno State. So he hasn't really gotten involved too much in the offense because he had a sickness, got injured, and like I'm curious if he can be unlocked because he.
Running as many miles as I do, I'll need like hips and knee. I'll be like the bionic man by the time I'm Brad's age. Although Brad is already the All right, we are back here. Robby Baker, Blake Niemann, Fox 10 Talk Sports pregame, talking ASU Houston. This is a 6-1 Houston Cougars team coming into Tempe, into what will be a sold-out Mountain America Stadium tomorrow. Kenny Dillingham joked after beating Texas Tech that he's kind of, not sick necessarily, but it's either an undefeated team or a one-loss team is all basically ASU has faced this year at the time of the meeting. So whoever wins the Big 12, whoever gets to the Big 12 championship game has gone through a gauntlet because this conference is one of the toughest in the country. I say all that because Houston is a very good they're a very good team. They're 6-1. When you look at who they've beaten, Stephen F. Austin, you can kind of throw that one out. Rice, you can kind of throw that one out. Colorado at home. Okay. Colorado's not what they were last year, but okay. On the road at Oregon State. I know you're an Oregon State guy from that part of the country.
It's been an abysmal season to be an Oregon State fan.
And they only won that game 27-24. Granted, it was on the road, and a win's a win. They come home. They got crushed by Texas Tech, 35-11. It probably wasn't even that close. Then they go on the road to Oklahoma State. Shout out the Cowboys. They're a dumpster fire right now. And then last week, they hosted the Arizona Wildcats, won that game on a field goal.
Yeah, so they've kind of played the bottom half of the conference.
They've played all this is. I'm not trying to be hot takey. They're 6-1. They beat the teams that are in front of them. ASU has played a tougher schedule to get to this point.
Like this, and then Iowa State is kind of the final hurdles of this season for ASU. We talked about that. Me and Robbie have talked about this 4-game stretch of when it started last week. So Texas Tech, Houston, Iowa State, and then the previous week was against Utah. Okay,
yeah,
right?
TCU by week.
So this 4-game stretch: Utah, Texas Tech, Houston, and Iowa State. I said if ASU can go 3-1 in this stretch, then I think they have a very solid chance to go to the Big 12 championship game. Right now, they are 2-1 within the stretch, or 1-1 within the stretch between Utah and Texas Tech. So now it's like these final 2 games are really going to determine of this stretch, because then after that they play West Virginia, who's had a really rough season.
They've had a rough year, and that game's at home. Homecoming, I believe, for
home
ASU.
game.
Salute to service.
Home game against West Virginia. Then you play at Colorado. Colorado's been up and down. I think ASU takes that game handedly. Then you play T-Cup at home. There's going to be plenty of energy at home just for that regardless. Arizona has had a better season line last year.
They are a much improved team than last year.
They are improved, but still, it's the Territorial Cup in Tempe this year. ASU went to Tucson last year and blew the brakes off of it.
That means that U of A is coming in with a little extra juice. There's always juice in the rivalry game, but coming off of that loss. But to your point, if this season continues to progress as Sun Devil fans hope, that U of A game could potentially be ASU playing for guaranteeing themselves a spot in the championship game, much like last year.
Like last year, exactly. Yeah. But like that, I don't think that situation happens to where ASU, you win that game and you are automatically in. That doesn't happen if ASU loses these next 2 games.
Yes.
I think they can afford. It's going to be sketchy if they even lose one of these next 2 games. Like ASU, like I said, I think 3-1, you're on really solid ground. You have 1 conference loss. You're heading into November against the bottom half of the conference. You're in a really good position. Now, I think they can still, because of that Texas Tech win, afford to go, quote-unquote, 2-2 within this stretch, have 2 conference losses, 3 losses on the year. It's not ideal. You're going to need some help from some other Big 12 teams.
That's the biggest thing, is you don't control it anymore.
Big matchup this weekend against BYU and
BYU, Iowa State.
Iowa State, like that's in Ames. That's going to be a big one if Iowa State can pull off the upset. But then you're scoreboard watching at that point, and I don't think you want to be in a position to where you're scoreboard watching. But I think ASU has a very good chance to beat Houston this week, and then next week Iowa State. That's going to be tough.
We both agreed 3-1 in this stretch was probably the most realistic option and the most likely path to get you where you want to go.
But it's tough when you start this stretch on a loss, right? Against Utah, you know that's tough to bounce back from. So it's a tough road ahead still.
Yeah, but I also think that if you would have asked us, 3 weeks ago during the bye week, if you would have asked one of us, what happens in those first 2 games, I think we both would have said they split them. Maybe we would have predicted they beat Utah and lost to Texas Tech, but I still think they're right where people thought they would be, and the way that they bounced back against Texas Tech, I think has reignited this fan base again, because that loss to Utah, that was, I mean, even Kenny, after beating Texas Tech, was still talking about the Utah game, saying that was embarrassing. Like, what the heck happened? And not questioning it, but saying it was that he's still, it's festering in his head.
It was the biggest loss since his first season when ASU went 3-9.
Yeah, so the fact that they not only rebounded, and it wasn't like a fluky win over Texas Tech. I mean, they were the better football team for all but a 2-minute stretch in the fourth quarter at the end where they almost blew it. And then the way that they still came back and won it, I think that really ignited the fan base, because it gave you echoes back to last year where there was so many dramatic comebacks and late game situations that ASU found ways to win, and they did that against the top 10 team, and that gives you confidence going into these next couple games that they should be able to take care of business. As you're talking about the standings, just bear with me here. This is kind of going to be like one of those like bad radio podcasts. We don't have a graphic, but just if you follow me here, BYU, Cincinnati, undefeated in the conference right now. So they're the top of the Big 12, 4-0.
And ASU doesn't play either team, so that's worth noting.
It's yes. And then you got Arizona State, Texas Tech, and Houston all at 3-1, right behind them. After that, there's a huge, basically the next half of the conference is all 2-2. And that includes TCU, Baylor, Utah, Arizona. Arizona's 1-3 in conference. Kansas is 2-2. When you look at the 2-2 teams, most of those teams Arizona State has already beaten or will play, like Iowa State. So really, that's what we're saying. If you beat Houston, you get the tiebreaker over Houston. You already got the tiebreaker over Texas Tech. You don't play BYU or Cincinnati, but BYU and Cincinnati still have tough games coming up. This is the tough part of ASU's schedule.
Yes.
So if they survive it, everything's in front of them. Kind of narrowing back down to this game before we give predictions. When you look at the Houston Cougars, for people who may not be familiar with them this year, because maybe you haven't watched a lot of Houston Cougar football, and I don't blame you, being out here in Arizona. Connor Wegman, their quarterback, it's funny, his stats comparative to Sam Leavitt, I mean, they're basically the exact same stat lines. They both thrown for about 1,300 yards. Sam's thrown for 9 touchdowns. Connor Wegman's thrown for 11. They've both thrown a handful of interceptions, both completing almost the exact same percentage, 62% of their passes. Statistically speaking, very similar seasons for the two quarterbacks. Dean Connors is the running back for Houston, 540 yards rushing on 115 carries, 4 touchdowns. Almost identical stats to Raleek Brown on paper. These teams statistically look very evenly matched, but that's, like I said, again, when you come into the crowd environment, the home field advantage, and even I just pulled it up here, you want to talk about, record-wise, they're 6-1. People are saying Houston's getting a little disrespected and, yada, yada. Well, ESPN's their, matchup predictor that they have for every game. They give ASU a 72% chance to win this game. That's not, that's their, analytic computer model thing. That's not like a person. That's just the statistics that ESPN puts into their system, and it spits out the prediction. They're basically saying 72% of the time they play this game, ASU should win it or will win it. And that's one of when you get to that range, that's like what they were the matchup predictor gives you against NAU and things like that. So Houston is better than NAU, but more talent, I should say, as a Big 12 program. But again, I feel bad saying this about Houston, but 6-1, they beat who was in front of them, but they're not a Utah 6-1 or a 5-1.
Yeah, it's a different schedule. I mean, ASU's had to go through a pretty difficult schedule so far through the season. I mean, they had to go at Baylor, who was hyped up to begin the year. TCU was hyped up to begin the year, beat them at home, and then bounce back from a huge loss with your biggest win of the season. I mean, you go from your most disappointing loss since your first season to Kenny Dillingham said on the radio that the Texas Tech win might rank as the top win of his head coaching career so far at ASU. It was that emotional for him. The guy couldn't even get words out in the on-field post-game interview with Fox Sports.
It's funny because I actually thought about that after the game, because technically the Iowa State game is the biggest win he's had because he won a conference championship. But they steamrolled Iowa State in that game. They just rolled the ball out, and they couldn't stop Cam Scadaboo and Sam Leavitt. I mean, that was just, they did whatever they wanted. That Texas Tech game was probably the best coaching game Kenny's had, in my opinion, to get the guys ready to go and to have them so dialed into the game plan to shut down Texas Tech.
It's ASU's first top 10 win since Sun Devil fans who are watching may remember the iconic when Jaden Daniels was a Sun Devil, threw the 80-yard touchdown to Brandon Ayuk to seal the game, knock Oregon out of the college football playoffs, knock out Justin Herbert and things like that. This is the first time ASU's beat a top 10 team since then, and the way they did it, coming back, ASU's season pretty much hanged in the balance in that game. If ASU loses to Texas Tech in that game, I don't know if ASU has a chance to make it to the Big 12 championship after that. Who knows? Who knows what happens?
It's just the momentum and the vibes even around the program changed so much with
it's just like
if they would have lost.
Back-to-back losses, especially coming off of that blowout loss. Like now the season's back into momentum. There's hype again around ASU. The energy's back up around the city, and as you're seeing, it's translating into selling tickets, 5th straight sellout. Fans aren't going anywhere, and neither are the Sun Devils.
So, Mr. Pavlin, I haven't had a chance to interact with you yet, but you say ASU all the way, and also a big fan of Fox 10 in the sports department, so we're a big fan of you. And Christine saying pitchforks up. We've kind of danced around it. I believe we were both picking ASU to win this game. I will say ASU, I'll say 28-17. I think that maybe is fair. I think the Cougars will find the end zone a couple times, but I hope, knock on wood, if you're a Sun Devil fan, I hope that this isn't one that comes down to the final minute, because I'm pretty sure that Texas Tech game took years off of my life, as well as other Sun Devil fans out there last time out. But I think a 2-score victory seems feasible for ASU if they play their game.
Look, I think this might be one of the biggest games of Sam Leavitt's career, because this is the first time he hasn't really had a star catalyst by his side now. He's played a game without Jordan Tyson. He's played a game without Cam Scadaboo. He hasn't played a game without both. Now it's going to be
deep here, Blake. You're getting deep.
It's going to be
get the solo shot for you.
It's going to be a lot on Sam Leavitt's shoulders, but I think he's the guy that can really carry it. And it's going to prove how good of a college quarterback he really is, because now you don't have a run game established with as thickly as Cam Scadaboo was, or your number one option that you've, as you said, thrown pretty much all of your touchdowns to. If Sam Leavitt can lead this team to a victory with multiple touchdown passes in this game, it's going to really help his case for the future of his career as hype in one of the top quarterbacks in college football. ASU's defense is also banged up right now. Jordan Crook might not play. Miles Rouser and Boogie Wilson are both questionable. Those are elite defenders for ASU right now in their secondary. So therefore, I think ASU's defense might be a little bit sketchy. I'm picking ASU to win, but I think it's going to be closer than people think. I think it might be a little bit more low scoring than people think. I'm going to go with a 24-14 ASU victory.
Okay, so we're both close there.
Yeah, I don't think the offense gets it going as much as people think. I think the defense still shows up, but it's going to be a little bit more limited.
All right, we're both picking another ASU win.